Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Braden. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm fired up with all this football that we just witnessed. So many great games, classic endings. Half the SEC's happy, half the SEC's mad. And maybe my favorite thing, I know we're going to hit on this, old Dabo's going to be flipping burgers with Tennessee. How about it?
Damn, I'll tell you what, if college football was a Christmas movie, damn, South Carolina would be the Grinch. Just out here stealing everybody's college football playoff chances. You know what I'm saying?
And like we were just saying, Shane, that this is a bittersweet podcast. This is the final one here where we're going to be breaking down a Saturday and really a Thursday and Friday, all these matchups, all these SEC teams, Shane. But the way I look at it, don't be sad because it's over. Be happy that you got to experience it. And at least we got one more here, Monday recap. Of course, we're going to recap all these bowls and hopefully another national championship and hopefully another couple of New Year's Six bowl wins. But it's just not quite the same, is it?
No, it's funny because me and Mike always talk a little bit before the show. And you know, Thanksgiving has always been one of my favorite holidays, not just because of the food and the family, but because of football and the rivalries. It's like, it's the pinnacle of college football, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You know, especially since we've gotten a lot more of these opt-outs during the bowls and whatnot. It's like, other than the college football playoffs, it feels like this was the last week, Mike. And I know it's not, but I'm bringing you back up. I mean, I got a little sad there for a second, you know, because there's part of me thinking about the Texas A&Ms out there and the Vandies, and, you know, we're not going to get to see them, but they're going to build. There's going to be a lot of stories coming out. There's going to be some sort of fallout with Texas A&M. I truly believe it, even though they just had a magical run here at the end with LSU, and we're going to get into that. But I still think there's going to be some fireworks down there, and I think some for the good, man. I do think that Jimbo takes a long, hard look in the mirror and fixes some of the problems that they have down there. So even though you may not have any more games this year, there's still going to be a lot of content coming your way from that SEC podcast. I can promise you that.
Yeah, no doubt, Shane. That portal's going to open any day now, and there's going to be all kinds of madness. So, hey,
absolutely,
we'll get there when we get there. But let's, I didn't know the best way to do this, Shane, but I think the best way is just kind of starting with the way things transpired. So let's go to the Egg Bowl first. Of course, on Thanksgiving, on Thursday. Haven't recorded since the lead up to that game. We thought Lane Kiffin was 2 feet out the door here, but oh, buddy, he's been pulled back. So we'll get more into Kiffin here in just a second. But Mississippi State, the victors down there, 24-22 in the latest edition of the Egg Bowl. It's always a great win if you can win in Egg Bowl, but it's even better, Shade, when you can win it on the road and break the hearts of the opposing fans there in Oxford. And that's what Mississippi State did. And thanks in large part, Shane. I didn't see this coming. I don't think you did either, but it was the defense. Yeah. Zach Arnett, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say he saved Mike Leach's job, but he may have very well done it, Shade, with the defensive performance the Bulldogs had in this matchup. Ole Miss had 6 3-and-outs. 3 of their drives had to go to field goal attempts. We all know Kiffin hates them field goals. Turnover on downs. They had a fumble recovery. And, of course, the game-winning 2-point conversion stop. And, Shane, for the life of me, I think because all the hoopla around, will he go to Auburn, won't he? I don't think Kiffin's taken enough heat for calling 2 timeouts on a 2-point conversion try that they didn't get. And so they lose the game here because there was a minute 25 left in the ball game. If you just can't do that, Shane. I mean,
right?
Hell, you get the 5-yard penalty. It may even help your offense because you got more area to work with. The defense doesn't have to just defend 12 and a half yards of field here. And
Right.
I mean that killed Ole Miss, and I'm just stunned more people aren't talking about that. This is a terrible job here by Lane Kiffin down the stretch.
Yeah, and I don't know if any of this has to do with some of that outside noise, but I mean, it has been brought up several times. This little ongoing online battle Lane Kiffin had with what's his name up there, the beat writer.
Yep, John Sokoloff. Shout out. He's famous now.
He's famous, man. He is Twitter famous. But I mean, he went to war with him, and you wonder. Obviously, this is at the forefront of Lane Kiffin's mind. And Mike, everything played out like it did. But I'm telling you right now, that's not how this thing was settled. If Lane was going to take an extension 5 days ago when that tweet came out, he would have done it. You know what I'm saying? He would have came out and he would have ran with it. I think this was a game of Lane Kiffin playing checkers back there, just am I in? Am I out? Are you going to pay me or is someone else going to pay me? That's kind of what this felt like. Mm-hmm. And I think you lose a little bit. I mean, it has to be somewhat of a distraction because when they came out here, Ole Miss looked like garbage. And Mississippi State didn't look much better the first half. I mean, it was a very tough game to watch. Mm-hmm. But when it ramped up, here you got Ole Miss, his bread and butter is the running game, and they can't even get 100 yards running among all the quarterbacks and running backs there. So, kudos, like you said, to Arnett and Mississippi State here. But there's part of me that walks away from this game thinking that there was a little ill-prepared. There was a little unprepared for Mississippi State's offense and especially what they were going to dial up on defense. And Lane Kiffin didn't have an answer. I don't want to boil it down to the 2 timeouts because, yes, I mean, I text you as soon as it happened. I mean, I sent out a fire burned, he was burning timeouts. And in the back of your mind, you're like, what if they don't get this? So you knew that there was always that. But it shouldn't have come down to that, I don't think. I really do think that Ole Miss was the better team, but Mississippi State just played better.
I can't believe it, Shane. You're focusing on a negative when you picked the upset here, Mississippi State.
No, I know. Well, here's the thing. When they had the lateral, okay, mm-hmm. the infamous lateral and the whistle and whatnot. There was moments in this game where Ole Miss had opportunities, but they couldn't catch a damn ball. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't want to say that Mississippi State played a flawless game. They didn't. They got lucky. Lady Luck was on their side. But what I do love about it is when it came down to crunch time, when it came down to red zones, and this Mississippi State defense they bowed up and they wanted it more. So the right team won. I'm just saying that Ole Miss could have played better.
Well, I'm the dumbass, Shane, that said Judkins, Evans, and Jackson Dart would all rush for 100 yards in this ball game. So I'm giving all the credit to this Mississippi State defense, Shane. 38 carries for Ole Miss, 74 yards on the ground. That's Ole Miss bread and butter. They cannot get it done. 0 rushing touchdowns. Judkins did have 87 yards, but how about this, Shane? Zach Evans, a week after having over 200 yards on Arkansas, 0 rushing yards on 5 carries. Again, that's kind of mismanagement. I mean, this is supposed to be the biggest game of the year down there. What the hell's he doing with 5 carries in this ball game? That was a bad job. I always like to point out the red zone, Shane. Ole Miss, 3 of 4 in the red zone for 13 points. Mississippi State, 3 of 4. But for 17 points. And, of course, this is just a 2-point margin. So you get it done in the red zone. You have a +4 in the red zone like Mississippi State did. That's how you win these tight ball games. Again, cannot give enough credit to this Zach Arnett defense for getting a job done. And how about this stat, Shane? Mike Leach, 18 career wins over ranked opponents when his team was unranked. That is the most of any coach in AP poll history, according to Cole Kublik, put that out on Thursday evening. So, man, great job, Mike Leach, once again, overcoming the odds here, getting your first Egg Bowl. Will Rogers, you know he wanted this one. How about when he fumbled that ball on the goal line with about 4 or 5 minutes left? I was like, my God, it's just not in the cards for Will Rogers to win one of these, but I guess
I
it
thought
was,
of Arkansas, Tennessee in '98.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what it felt like. I was like, damn, Rogers got money on this thing. So it was just a great game. I want to give them credit. Did you see the photo? I mean, there was a lot of great photos after this thing. It kicked off the cigar thing. I thought that was just a Tennessee, Alabama. Apparently, every rivalry gets to smoke a cigar at the end of the victory. So that was good seeing them in the locker room. But there was a photo of those two guys down there in the end zone, dog peeing on the Egg Bowl trophy. Do you know who those two guys were? I didn't catch them. No. It's floating around. We'll put it on the YouTubes and the Twitters. Probably it's already on our Twitter page. But man, one of the greatest photos. It's just these rivalries, man. It's bragging rights. It's emotional, especially this team. I told you coming into it, we had over 100 players combined from that state. It means more. It does. And you don't see it. You feel it, and then you watch a game, and and we're going to get to some of these other chippy games, but you knew they were playing for a little bit more in this one, and that's what I loved most about it. And because if you come away the victor, buddy, they blasted Ole Miss all over media. Lane Kiffin has been dragged through the mud. I haven't seen him much on there except sending out motivational tweets. That's about it right now.
And I told Shane Avery, who sent us his cowbell, I told him I didn't want to break the audio here. People driving and listen to that, but hey, we got to ring the cowbell for for Mississippi State winning their latest Egg Bowl. And hey, Shane, we've been talking all this game as a Tennessee man. I congratulate you. You have not even mentioned once Ole Miss throwing trash on the field like I've seen about tens of thousands of balls on Twitter bringing that out.
I was still waiting for the articles to come out. I didn't see it quite yet, so I didn't want to be that guy. Obviously, I made a couple of jokes when it happened. I mean, they're throwing damn chairs. You would think they would at least get some sort of play online, but no, it's you hate to see it because this is 2 games in a row, but it is kind of funny that Ole Miss. I mean, it's like Lane Kiffin not too long ago talking about the people with the fake injuries. It's like, man, karma came back and got you guys. So, anyway.
Well, let me ask you that, Shane, because let's turn the conversation to Ole Miss. Started 7-0. Finish 8-4. I mean, this has got to be the most disappointing. And I even went so far, I may have been a little inebriated, but I called them the biggest frauds in the SEC. Do you think that's a fair statement, or is that maybe a little too harsh?
I think a little too harsh because some of the games they lost were close. There was some. We thought a little bit of this schedule was going to be fool's gold at the start of the season. Mm-hmm. Obviously we thought Ole Miss would come down to earth a little bit after that LSU game, and they did. But I still came away thinking that Ole Miss was a better football program than their record shows. I think there's a couple of games sprinkled in there that if the play calling went right, or if the players went right, that maybe we'd had a couple more victories here. But I just think there was just too much noise coming in this one. And I think that just that took away from the Egg Bowl experience. And kudos again to Mississippi State taking advantage of it.
Well, let me ask you this also, Shane. Lane Kiffin, according to Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated, he's one of the best out there when he's talking about covering college football. This is something he's reporting. Lane Kiffin's going to get a new deal from Ole Miss. 8 years, an average of $9 million. And I did not even know you could do this in the state of Mississippi. It's always, the max is 4 years, but they found a way to do this through Ole Miss private foundation somehow. So he's going to get paid as one of the
There's Juice. Juice is in there with you.
He's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in college football.
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here saying he's a bad coach because he's been an outstanding hire for Ole Miss. But listen to this, Shane. He does not have a single win over an SEC team that finished with a winning record in conference play. His SEC record is 14-10, and half of those wins, he's got 3 against Vanderbilt, awful. Mississippi State 2 and Kentucky 2. That's half of his SEC wins here. Now I say all that. Here's what I'm trying to get at here, Shane. Is Lane Kiffin overpaid?
So this would make Lane one of the top 4 paid coaches in the SEC, right? Or 5? Is that? He's right there with Kelly and if I'm not mistaken,
Jimbo, Nick Saban, Kirby. He may even be making more than Kirby now.
No. I think Kirby's up there. I mean, think about it. Nick Saban, national championships. Jimbo, not recently, but still national championships. Kirby, national championships. And then you got Kelly over here, first year, going to an SEC championship. So, I mean, certainly could make the argument. But, again, you're making the argument from a coach that's coaching in Oxford, Mississippi. And I think that's got to have some sort of pull to it. This is nothing against Ole Miss, but there's a reason that they've never won an SEC championship, Mike. It's a tough place to do it. And I don't know, man. The buzz that they've created here the last two
I think they won one in the 60s.
I don't count that. I mean, in our time. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. Did they really? All right.
I think in the late 60s they had a good team.
I can hear him typing now. No, okay, yeah. You got there in the 60s, but nobody's bragging about 60 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Lane Kiffin wasn't even born then. So I think this is important because they're relevant again. People are talking about Ole Miss all the time. When you mention the SEC, one of the first coaches they talk about is Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
When the jobs were coming open in Auburn and potentially Texas A&M, maybe even Alabama, Lane Kiffin's name was at the forefront. I think that's important because what you're doing is you're selling, man. All these coaches, yes, they got to be able to coach, they got to be able to win, but they also got to be able to sell recruits. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Lane does. He opens up the portal. All these kids about to hit the portal. Don't you think half of them ain't going to take a look down there at Ole Miss? Now they've got their NIL package starting to grow a little bit. So, I mean, the things that he's asking for, they're trying to give to him. It hasn't been as quick as some of these other universities, but coming out here, signing up an 8-year deal, I think is a huge boost. And now the future of Lane Kiffin's not in jeopardy anymore. And I think that's important because now you're going to see a little bit more recruiting, something you haven't seen in the past. And I'm not saying Lane hasn't been doing that on purpose, but it makes you wonder why he's been so adamant about the portal and less time in the classrooms with some of these kids.
During some tough situations, which I never cough. You guys know that. I never cough. But that locker room looks like it's on fire right now. It looks like a damn dumpster fire, you know, like, anyway, the rest of whatever you said. All right, go ahead.
Lane, we asked about it last week, but there's been a lot of talk about your future and whatnot. Do you feel like that was a distraction at all this week with the players?
I think when it was falsely reported by John, who's now famous, congratulations, that you can just write whatever you want, and I would do it too, I think, because you're never held accountable and you get to become famous and maybe you'll be right. So John did it, so then I had to have a team meeting to say his article was wrong, which would love to know these unnamed sources from John. But so yes, I had to have a team meeting because of that. They don't, when there's other stuff and chat rooms and all that stuff, but when a reporter writes it, it changes the game with it. So,
all right, Shane, let's move on to the Friday action here. Missouri, bowl eligible by beating Arkansas 29-27. This is the rare.
It's not a rivalry, Mike. Not a rivalry.
This is the rare Shade and I predicted upset, and it actually happens. But it is funny you say that, Shade, because I threw this out here again. Let me know if this is too harsh. Missouri 6-1 against Arkansas the last 7. Razorback fans say this is not a rivalry, and I think they're right now, Shane, because rivalries are supposed to be competitive.
Oh, Mike. Oh, geez. I can hear him logging on right now. That's SEC Mike, not Shane.
But I just had a bad feeling about this game, Shane, as soon as we found out the day before Miles Slusher no longer on the team. And what's all going on with that? He was basically their best defensive back with Jalen Catalon out for the season. And then we get to the game on Friday, Shane, and Brady Cook is putting it together. He's cooking, man. 242 passing yards and a touchdown, no interceptions, and then 138 rushing yards and a touchdown, looking like Michael Vick back there. You know what I mean? He was slicing and dicing. This was the best game Brady Cook's played.
We told you Missouri can go as far as Brady Cook will take them, and buddy, the gloves are off. He played outstanding. This was a fantastic game. He was playing like it was his last opportunity, and he was not going to leave anything out there on the field. The defense, has been the strongest suit for Missouri, and they did just enough to keep KJ Jefferson in check, especially Rocket. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest, if not the greatest, running back in the SEC. Right. They held him in check. This was just it was an ugly game at times, but when it came down to the wire, it was Cook, and that's not who I thought. That's you go into a game like this, you're like, which quarterback do you want to have the ball last? You want KJ if you're down, you would think, but no. About 3/4 into this thing, I'd want Cook to hold the ball.
Yeah, no. The only disappointing thing, Shane, I mean, we don't want to just bury the guy or think about what could have been, but had Brady played like this all season long, we're probably talking 9-3, hell, maybe even 10-2. Could have pulled that upset over Georgia, but Missouri did score on 6 of their first 7 drives in this game. And like you said, the defense, another strong performance, 7 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery. You said it, Rocket Sanders, 47 yards on the ground. Had he had a couple more, he would have been the SEC rushing leader, but he lost that to Judkins with this performance. And, man, Dominic Lovett, we'll have more on him in just a second, but 6 catches, 130 yards. He's heating up. This was one, again, comes down to the red zone, Shay. There's a reason I say this time and time and time again. Missouri, 20 points in the red zone, 4 of 4. Arkansas, 3 of 3, 17 points with fans understandably upset. They had the 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. Could not punch it in. Some questionable play calling down there. That was the final points of the game, and it was with like 12 minutes left. They had to kick a field goal. Obviously lost by 2 points. Had they punched it into a touchdown, maybe they win this ball game. I don't know. But, man, we got Arkansas fans, Shane, pretty fired up. Heads need to roll. And hell, Sam Pittman, he's right there with him. He fired the strength and conditioning coach.
I was going to say, you're already cleaning them out, you know.
On Saturday.
But he's not the only one to blame, if you ask me. But I keep your ears to the ground. There's going to be some more getting released up there.
Well, let me ask you, what moves do you think need to be made here to fix this thing at Arkansas? Because at the end of the day, Shane, very disappointing end of the season, particular. We've been driving the bandwagon here for Arkansas. 6-6, not my wildest dreams could I have imagined that was Arkansas's record. But, to me, Shay, you lose KJ for 2 games. You can make the case he probably shouldn't even played against Liberty. He was so banged up. And really, at the end of the day, this is just making excuses, but they fell short in 1-score games. I think they were like 1-4 or something like that, when last season they were winning those games. I mean, that's what the SEC is. It's just, it's the slimmest of margins between 9-3 and 6-6, 5-7. Again, maybe that's just excuses, but it just kind of flipped the other way on Arkansas. I don't think we need to blow everything up, and this is a god-awful staff, and let's just go hire Urban Meyer. 'Cause you know what? He ain't coming to Fayetteville, Arkansas. You know what I mean? So
I think you got Sam, but one thing Sam's always been able to do is get some of that staff around him that makes Arkansas better, and it just feels like we took a step backwards this year. And I think strength and conditioning is a big one, because you look at all the injuries. Look at all the ailments that they've had to battle through here. I mean, you want to blame the defense at times, but half the roster is not even out there. I don't know. I'm not too keen on the offense. I'll tell you that. The play calling at times gets a little questionable, but I don't want to point fingers. We got a 6-win season. This isn't what Arkansas we signed up for, man. We signed up for a Razorback team that was going to compete for the West, and here they are, barely bowl eligible. So there's got to be some answers, man. And I think the first thing Sam did was the right thing. Get somebody in there that can keep your team healthy. Because you gotta have that competitive depth. Late in the season, it just killed them. They couldn't keep up with it. But this offensive line, maybe that's Sam's bread and butter. But at times, I even question it. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go down that road, Mike, because there's message boards for that. If you want to get on there and voice I think it's now's the time Sam needs to Not worry about friendships. Worry about his job. Bring the people in here that's going to make this program better. Not who he's friends with or who he's buddies with. You know what I'm saying? I think you need to worry about your program, because if you repeat this year, they're not going to keep you around in Arkansas. They got too much money, and they got they'll get your ass out of there.
Yeah, and I think the biggest red flag for me, Shane, is performances like Liberty. And then you dominate Ole Miss. You're competitive with LSU. We'll get to them in a minute. I know they're not as hot as we thought, but you go toe to toe with a top 10 LSU, and then you look terrible at times against Missouri. And that's not to discredit Missouri, but hell, they're not a top 10 team. You know what I mean? So it's the inconsistency is very troubling when you're at the very end of year 3. You should be beyond that,
Yeah, this is when we thought Sam would be where we needed him to be. I think we got it too early, and now our expectations are higher than they probably should be.
Right.
But again, I don't want to take. I mean, everybody deals with injuries, but there's just not a team that I don't think, man, that got hit quite as hard as Arkansas did this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this, staying on this other side though here, Shane. Big news on Sunday. Dominique Lovett, number 3 in the SEC in receiving. Mm-hmm. I'm not even sure if you saw this one yet, Shane. Going into the transfer portal. That was being reported by 24/7 Sports. And I hear this is NIL related. We know Luther Burden's got him some deals. I hear Sam Horn, the backup quarterback's got deals. Brady's got some deals. So,
yeah.
But here's the interesting thing, Shane. Not that you want to lose Lovett, certainly. I mean, he's better than Luther Burden. At least he has been this season. More productive, is probably the right word. But you cannot even go into the portal, Shane, until December 5th, which is Monday, a week from now, when people are listening to this.
Yeah.
So when you hear this, like Dominic Lovett going into the portal, again, this is not the news you want. I get it, but I'd much rather have it now than on Monday when the portal's actually open, because what this is going to allow is, if there are boosters here at Missouri, say, well, what the hell? How much? What's his number? Because we can get that money to him, unless they're just dead set on leaving. But remember Lane Kiffin said this about a year ago, Shane. He said, if I was Bryce Young, I would get in the portal every damn year and just see what my number is. And I think that's what we're going to get with guys like Dominic Lovett. That's an outstanding player. Again, number 3 in the SEC in receiving. Like it or love this is what's going to happen. Elite players are going to go in the portal, see how much they're worth. And then, he's from St. Louis. He may want to stay, and he may be able to go to Missouri Collective or whatever it's called and say, hey, Auburn's offered me $300,000. If you match that, I'm here. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's what's going to be happening the next couple of weeks. Whether that's good or bad for the sport, that's not for me to determine, but this is all legal now. So again, if you're a Mizzou fan, I get it. You're freaking out. Maybe your best player here going into the portal, but you got a week to kind of iron out what it's going to cost to keep him. And if you don't want to pay it, then maybe you don't deserve to keep him. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a story about bamboo, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. For those that didn't catch it, Eli threw out a story earlier this week, so now it makes sense who he was talking about. Yeah. The grass isn't always greener. What may work here in Missouri may not work at another university. You may find yourself in a deeper depth chart situation. So you want what's best for the kid. I mean, that's the whole point of college is making sure that they're furthering their education along with some of these kids getting to the next level. So if he gets an opportunity to showcase, being number 3 in the SEC was huge, especially with what they were. I mean, Lovett played great, got hurt a little bit, banged up early in the season, but still, he's a big piece of your offense and a reason that they don't load up the box when Cook's back there. So I think this is good for Missouri because there are some boosters probably that are a little tight to the wallet, don't want to give up the money, and And now you're seeing these other schools are going to have to pay. Look, Lane Kiffin pretty much is begging Ole Miss to amp up the NIL.
Right.
You're seeing it. Stoops the other day in Kentucky.
Yep.
Same thing. I mean, it's these smaller schools that have these smaller NIL contracts. They need help, and they're going to either get it or they're going to lose some players because of it. So I don't think, it's not like school was when we grew up, man. And you could just once you commit, you're in. It's not like that anymore. It's a free agency, and as much as I hate to admit it, there's going to be a handful of kids every single year that if they're not getting paid what they think they're due, they're going to find some school that will.
Right. You say you hate it. He goes to Tennessee. This was the best thing they ever invented.
I know. I was thinking, it wasn't too long ago we were fishing up there anyway. So,
nobody wanted to say it, but I think there was a lot of people that were just really, we just wanted it so bad. We wanted it so bad, and we tried not to make it bigger than it was. But at the end of the day, we knew we were playing for one more. And, for Barrett not to be able to play this game, everybody really wanted to win so he could have one more game and then give him that trophy. That trophy means a whole hell of a lot to him and to our team, and just special. We talked all week about, and even said in pregame, we signed up for a 12-round fight. And this is round 12, and everything we had worked for, January, bleachers in the summer, two-a-days, nothing had defeated us, and we weren't letting the 12th round defeat us either.
Eli, is that a bowl cigar there?
No, that's a rivalry cigar, man. This is a cigar game. You win this one, you get to celebrate it. So, last night in our team meeting, I told the boys that I'd bought 150 cigars. Will, I hope that's not against the NCAA compliance rules. If it is, we got to write it up right now. But I said, we win this game, boys. That's my mindset. We're smoking a victory cigar. So, yeah. And it's good too, man. It's actually not a great cigar, but it's the best one I've ever had. So, no, I'm not. My wife's back there. Okay. Oh, here we go again. You're already putting your hand in my pockets. All right.
All right, the other Friday game, Shane, man, unfortunate for the SEC here. Florida goes down in Tallahassee, 45-38 to Florida State. This was a wild game, Shane. It was highly entertaining. We obviously didn't like the outcome, but 26 total drives, 13 scoring drives. So every other time somebody was touching the football, they were scoring in this game. For the life of me, Shane, Florida, spy the damn Florida State quarterback was someone other than a defensive lineman. They could not tackle that guy to save their life. I mean, he was looking like Johnny Manziel back there. Credit Florida. I mean, they got down 14 points in the third quarter, and they fought all the way back, tied it up in the fourth. And I don't know how you miss that face mask call. Final play of the game. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, you'd think you'd be paying attention to Anthony Richardson with the damn ball in his hands. He's getting his head nearly ripped off. No flag here. I don't want to say that cost Florida the game, but it was a crucial part of the game. But really, Shane, I mean, Anthony Richardson, 9 of 27. But listen to this, Shane. He started 5 of 7 with 3 touchdowns. And you're sitting here saying, my God, the $1 million man has showed up. We're going to whoop Florida State. Well, he ended 4 of 20. Train wreck here. I mean, this is maddening. And I understand, if I'm a Florida fan, why you're ready to see this guy go. I mean, at the same time, if you can get him to play up to his potential week in, week out, quarter to quarter, Florida, I don't know if they can beat Georgia, but hell, they could beat anybody else in the SEC if he played up to that potential, but he just doesn't do it. But at the same time, it's not all on him, Shane. I mean, basically, they were down to one receiver. Ricky Pershaw had him one hell of a game, 5 catches, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. But what killed him was Florida State on the ground, 227 yards rushing for the Seminoles and 5 touchdowns. You're just not going to win many games when you give up 5 rushing touchdowns. And, man, just look at the first season of Billy Napier. And I threw this out there, and, man, the Gators jumped all over me. This is not making a statement. This is just saying, here's the games they lost. Georgia, Florida State, LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. So, I mean, basically every game they care about, aside from Vanderbilt and Kentucky, but they
Yeah.
lost those two. I mean, just a brutal first year after such, starting on such a high note, beating Utah. You thinking, man, we may have something here. And I'm not suggesting by any means that Billy Napier is a horrible coach or anything like that. He's inherited a tough situation, a very thin roster with, again, a terribly inconsistent quarterback. But, man, we got to do better than this.
Well, we got to, but, what frustrates me about Florida is walking away from that South Carolina game, which we're going to get to. Apparently, they're a top 5 team now. They absolutely beat the brakes off of them, momentum in their favor. And then they just shit the bed the last 2 games. I don't get it. Vanderbilt, even if you don't have Anthony Richardson, even if ETN wanted to sit out, there's no reason you should have lost that game. And then to supplement that, you come down here, you play Florida State, and nothing against Florida State, but you should beat this team, Mike. Yeah. You should beat this team. That whole saying third and Grantham, you remember that was a joke? That's what it felt like, man. Every third down was a completion or a first down, and it wasn't by a lot. It was by a lot, It was a 15, 20-yard reception it was just god awful. Yes, there were some bad calls in here, but there was also some bad play calling in here and bad tackling and just fundamental football that Florida got away from. And so a little bit of that does fall on Billy. It has to, because this is something you kind of lost, just the X, Y's, and Z's of college football and the fundamentals of football play was out the door. I watched that one little kid run around, and I think there was about 6 Gators back there in the backfield. I mean, he's not that good. He was not Michael Vick. This isn't Lamar out there. I mean, he's good. He's quick. He's slick, but he ain't that damn good, and you had him wrapped up and just couldn't take him down. So Florida missed this one, man. They missed this one, and after that last score where they tied up the game, momentum's on their side. They let another one slip by them. And so, yes, I'm going to blame Billy for these last 2 losses, because Gators really should be an 8-win team right now, maybe even more, but at least 8-4 right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, we were so high on them. They were trending until that Vanderbilt game. But also at the same time, and I have no idea, so this is just me speculating, Shane, if it's related, but during that time, there was a number of players left the program. Brenton Cox got kicked off the team as well. I mean, it was a series of events, and from the outside looking in, it's clear. It's like these are guys not bought in. Right. And you're better off without them, but maybe it messed with that locker room to the point to where, I don't know, maybe it was a detriment because again, you gave that Vanderbilt game away. You showed heart, toughness, nearly won here on the road against your arch rival, so I'll give them credit for that. But it's just tough. And then next year, Shane, they only got 3 SEC home games because of the Georgia game, and they open at Utah, which again, we found out the pretty solid team. Of course, we beat them last year in Gainesville, but they're going to want revenge. So next year's going to be a defining year with only 3 home games. It's going to be difficult. But the good news is Florida has got their NIL in order, and I expect them to be heavily involved in the transfer portal. So I think this is a team, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with Anthony Richardson, but this is going to be a team that looks a lot different, I think, than what they look this year. At least that's my hope.
So if you buy season tickets as a Florida or Georgia fan, do you get a discount for that game or anything? You just got to buy that ticket separately? Yeah,
that's a great question. I don't know how they do that.
That'd be tough to sell your fans a 3-game home. You know what I'm saying? It's like most seasons. I mean, they're not cheap these days. So 3 games at home, it's like, is it even worth it? But I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of diehard Gator fans, and they're going to be there and packing the place out. But it just, I don't know. That's just kind of wild to me that next year we're only going to have 3 home games. Man, that is going to be. Are you sure about that? Have you fact checked that, Mike? I'm not calling you out there, but something doesn't. My math ain't good, but that means 9 away games.
Well, no, that's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying 3 SEC home games, which these are the games people care about. And because you're playing Georgia in Jacksonville, they're the home team quote unquote, for that one, so they only get 3. Arkansas and Texas A&M have to deal with the same garbage because they play in Arlington, to where you should see Arkansas slate next season. They go like a month and a half without playing a damn home game. It's crazy.
Well, I'm still a little hungover, Mike, and you're throwing this math out there. You just blew my mind. I was like, damn, I would not buy a season ticket. If I was only getting 3 games and one of those is going to be a cupcake or 2, it's like not worth it. But, okay, I see what you're saying. So we're
3 SEC, 3 cupcakes at home is what
All
they
right,
well, not
absolutely.
I'm saying Florida State's a cupcake, but, hell, they probably should be. You know what?
Gator fans, season tickets, tweet at me. I need to know, do you get a discount at the Florida-Georgia game, the cocktail party, or do you have to buy that one separate? I am curious about that.
All out there, but there was some things that we can do better. There's no question. But I think probably I'm proud of the intangibles that our team showed. In that locker room right now, there's a lot of guys that are, it's tough. It's tough. When you do it the right way and you come up short, it's tough. I think it creates opportunities. There's no question that, we need to remember every single part of that experience. This game can teach you a lot about life. And I think that there's going to be lots of things that we can learn from tonight. But came up a score short, and there's no question we can do a lot of things better. But I am extremely proud. Staff had them ready to compete. And they showed up and put it on the line. So, tough one to swallow. But we're going to get better. We're going to improve. We're going to use that experience.
All right, Shane. Well, let's get over to the Saturday action. Let's just start with what I thought was the game of the week in the SEC. Honda Morristown, I believe I predicted, and Honda Morristown it was. South Carolina 31, Clemson 30 in Death Valley. Clemson had won 40 games in a row at home. They were 126-2 when leading after 3 quarters. Well, now that's 3, brother.
Keep it coming. You got some more stats? I want to soak them all in.
First time South Carolina has ever beaten top 10 opponents in back-to-back weeks, and they did it, unfortunately for you, Shane, beating Tennessee, beating Clemson. As Shane Beamer likes to say, they were in their own version of the playoff this last couple of weeks. You know what?
I told you, they hurt my feelings. They broke my heart last week, and I said, if you want to make it up to me, beat Dabo.
Yep.
And guess what they did? They went over there and they beat the Dabo Sweeney. I'm telling you, brother, I am so pumped for these Gamecocks right now. They're on cloud 9, and rightfully so. It's been a crazy, crazy season. I mean, you go back to, what was it, Georgia Southern? Georgia State? Who were they playing? Georgia State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there was
Ugly.
there was a late lead change in that thing. I mean, that game could have went the other way, and to go from that to beating 2 top 5 or top 8 teams in the country.
Yep.
I mean, how can you not be on cloud 9 right now?
And
you got a lot of pieces coming back next year.
Here's the thing, Shane. I mean, this is crazy. South Carolina, right out the gate, throws a pick 6. Spencer Rattler threw a bad interception in the end zone that cost you another 7 points. So you're sitting here saying, how in the hell can you win a game like this? I'll tell you how.
Beamer ball.
Well, no, South Carolina was unquestionably the better team. It was offense. It was defense. Look at Clemson's second half drives, Shane. 1 scoring drive, 1 turnover, and 5 punts. I mean, that's outstanding defense. How about special teams? You talk Beamer ball. Punt coverage was awesome. They recovered 2 fumbles during punts. Mitch Jeter, the kicker, was 4 of 4 on field goals. Kai Kroger, 53-yard punting average, including a 63-yard punt. in Clemson, they tried to pull some of that themselves with the stupidest play I've ever seen, a little huddle on a kickoff. And I guess they gave the ball to the wrong guy because he didn't know what the hell to do with it. And he just threw it forward, and South Carolina jumped on it. And Clemson was up 16-7 at that time. I mean, it was totally inexcusable to be running that garbage, but that's Dabo for you. But again, this was not a fluke. This was not some kind of, South Carolina would have lost 9 out of 10. I think South Carolina would have won 9 out of 10 if they played Clemson
Mike,
this many times.
Two words, it boils down to, for me, full confidence. They have full confidence in Spencer Rattler now. And you saw that. Now, did he make some mistakes? Absolutely. I mean, that interception in the end zone was god-awful. Mm-hmm. But I think about some of the other plays, that 4th and short, throwing it down the field to Juju. I mean, that's confidence. You don't dial that up if you don't have confidence in your quarterback's arms. Some of these passes he made late in the game to continue drives, confidence, and some of the balls he was throwing looked like interceptions and turned out to be long receptions. So I just think that is the big picture here, is that South Carolina finally has confidence in Spencer. Spencer finally has confidence in himself, and he realizes that there are other pieces on this team. He doesn't have to do it all. Just get the ball in the area to some of these boys and let them make the plays. And, buddy, they made the plays. And the special teams, my hat's off, man. It's almost like we always make fun of it. I always want to make fun of Beamer ball. I think it's, I hate saying it. It just feels dirty, But every time you watch a freaking South Carolina game, I'm blown away by how great special teams is. That Kroger, I mean, is there a best? I don't know if there's a what's the punter award? He's getting it, right?
Yeah, the Ray Guy Award.
Yeah, I don't get it. They're going to change it to his name after this thing, man. I mean, he's lethal down there putting it in the 5-yard. So just the whole aspects, the coverage, the getting the turnovers. I mean, it's just a fun team to watch right now, and it's a lot of people lose that. A lot of people lose special teams, but it's three. It's offense, it's defense, it's special teams. And sometimes you've seen a lot of games lost because they have shitty special teams. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, South Carolina special teams has won them more games than lost.
Yeah, shout out Pete Limbo, the coordinator. We've mentioned him many a times. He's a great quote, but he's also an outstanding coach. He's up for the Frank Broyles Assistant Coach of the Year award, and I think he locked it up on Saturday. If no disrespect to all the great candidates, if Pete Limbo doesn't win it, maybe they ought to stop giving that thing away. But, credit Marcus Satterfield, too, Shane, for dialing us up. And I don't know if you heard it during the broadcast, but the Clemson DBs were apparently getting into verbal arguments on the sidelines because they didn't know what the hell to do there in coverage with this South Carolina passing attack. Juice Wells, 9 catches, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. But we give all this praise to Spencer Rattler, and for good reason. Mm-hmm. He's unlocked something. Let me ask you this. And kind of the same thing goes back to what I was saying with Anthony Richardson. Fans at times, understandably have been upset with these guys, but would you advise, and maybe it's different for each guy, but Spencer Rattler, Anthony Richardson, would you advise either one of them to go pro, or do you think they need to come back and refine their skills before jumping to the NFL?
Me as a Tennessee fan, I want him to go pro, Mike. You just punched your ticket. Get the hell out of here. No, that's the bias side of me. But I still think a little work wouldn't be a bad thing. Put together a complete season. I think that would help you, because right now I don't think he's a first-round pick, even unless he just goes to camp or something like that and just knocks their socks off. But if he could come back and continue even a fraction, 80% of what he's been doing the last 2 games, brother, he's a first-round pick. And that's good for everybody on that team. You want to talk about some of the receivers, the running back. A good quarterback, a great quarterback makes you better, makes you a higher draft stock. So if you could convince him to come back, absolutely. Right. But the Vol in me, I want his ass gone.
Well, I think the key to that, Shane, is the way the NFL works now. Unless you're a Trevor Lawrence or something like that, they are not going to give you time to develop. I mean, you got to go in there and you got to be ready to play Otherwise, they'll turn around in 2 seasons. They'll draft your replacement. And I think you said the critical thing there, develop your skills even more. You got the talent, but if you're not being consistent in college, it's tough to see that being a day one, you're locked in, ready for the NFL.
Right.
So, hey, I think there's very, very few quarterbacks that have come back to school and it hurt them, so to speak. I'd love to see both those guys in college football for at least another year.
Do you know if any of those guys? I know there's a couple seniors. Is Vance a senior? Do they have the option for a 5th year, or are they done? I think that's big too. Unless you can go in the portal. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just talked about nice little addition up there out of Missouri. I mean, don't get me wrong. You bring somebody like Lovett, you fill in a spot there. I would think to get Spencer to come back, you're going to need to convince him that you're going to build around him still.
Right.
So, what's their wide receiver room going to be looking like next season at this moment?
I think Jaheim Bell can return, but I think he's such an elite prospect. I think he'll go to the NFL. Josh Vann, I think, will not be back. But
Jalen Brooks,
I think this is his last year. And then Juice Wells, he can return, but he's playing so damn good. You may be onto something, Shade. I mean, maybe he wants to come back, but all the receivers are gone, and he's sitting here saying, well, what the hell? But,
yeah.
I mean, South Carolina has done such a good job with the portal. Mm-hmm. It's hard to see them not crushing it once again with that, you know?
So we'll know the portal. Well, okay, so just for clarification, because I suck at remembering dates and stuff. Mm-hmm. So the portal opens up a week from today.
Correct. December 5th, and it's open for 2 weeks only.
Okay, so can they get commitments during that 2 weeks, or is it going to be at the very end of the 2 week period? We'll get this guy's going here, this guy's going here, or he removed his name from the portal.
I think it's at any point. So you could go in December 5th. You can transfer December 5th, or anywhere in between.
When do you have to declare for the draft?
I think it's in January or January after the season. So late January, I think, early February.
Okay. Well, I think that's important because right now, like I said, South Carolina is a wild team to play for right now. I mean, everybody's talking about them, and if you could jump into that portal and say, hey, look what we got. You know, we're going to convince Rattler to stay.
Right.
We just need some pieces around him. I don't know. It'd be surprising. So the timing works out perfect. So this portal is going to be huge for South Carolina, in my opinion.
So happy for our fans. I know how important this rivalry is, and I spoke at Gamecock clubs in Greenville, Spartanburg. I was in Anderson last May, and I know how important this game is to so many people in this state. I'm just so happy for our fans. I'm so happy for our seniors, our players. I mean, a total team effort. The fight in this team, I hope y'all understand, like it is special what we got in that locker room. For us to play like we did in the first quarter, nobody flinched, and we were a confident team coming in here today, and we got better as the day went.
When you see Spencer, clock hit 0.
There's our trophy. Thank you. Thank you. We've been trying to find this trophy.
Now, I should add, Shane, I believe there's another portal window. So there's 2. And the second one, I don't have the dates in front of me, but I believe it's right after spring football ends. So you kind of can go through spring. Maybe you're the 4th or 5th running back. You say, well, hell, this is not working out. I need to go somewhere where I can play. So that's the logic with that one.
Man, we got to have a portal show, man.
Oh, we're gonna have 2 weeks of portals.
I'm just gonna ask you a million questions about the portal, so I'm ready for it, man. It's open season. Free agency, baby.
Yeah. On the next episode, Stephen Lass is gonna be breaking down what areas teams need to add via the transfer portal. So that's a little teaser for you. But we got more games to recap. Shane, big one here. All the respect in the world after I've been trashing them for 2 butts here. Texas A&M takes that big old whooping stick to LSU 38-23 in a game that was not even that close, Shane. Devon Achane, we've said it many, many times before. We got to say it again. Needs to be an All-American, Shane. 38 carries, 215 yards. Third straight 100-yard game. I don't care that he's missed some ball games. He is clear in a way, probably the best all-purpose player in the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
Hell, with all these Heisman candidates going down, it's probably unrealistic, but hell, I'd put him up for the Heisman. I mean, he's been that valuable to Texas A&M, and without him, they would not have won this game. Without him, they may be a 2-win team here. He's just outstanding. And Connor Wigman, hell, I was dumb enough to suggest, do we even want to be playing this guy at the end of the season? 12 of 18, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look at Texas A&M, Shane. First 3 drives, 15 plays, 90 yards, touchdown. 12 plays, 58 yards, field goal. 9 plays, 72 yards, touchdown. As soon as that, you were texting me, Texas A&M's going to win this damn game. You're going to look like a fool. And I said, no, sir, LSU's a second-half team. Well, they were second-half sucking on this one because this was A&M all game long. Moose Muhammad, another outstanding game. He has emerged as one of the better emerging talents in the SEC. Aggies were 10 of 15 on third down. Damani Richardson scored on a defensive touchdown. I mean, this was just an ass-whooping.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, what drives me nuts, and a little off subject here, is the Heisman race. The Heisman race should not come from an undefeated team. I think we've got so narrow-minded on what we think our idea of an MVP is. Devon Achane is a full program, is Texas A&M. I mean, this man single-handedly won this game. Well, I don't want to say single. I mean, Moose had a couple single-handed nice ones too. So I don't want to take from Moose, but I'm telling you right now, this was Devon Achane's game, and he wasn't built for this. A lot of people were afraid coming into the season that he wasn't going to be able to handle a large load, that he was going to get injured. And yeah, he got a little banged up, but for the most part, even injured today, during this game, that he came out, he was banged up, and he put over 200 yards on that field. That's an MVP. That's a Heisman, in my opinion, because if you remove Devon Achane from that team, Texas A&M loses this game. Yeah. So that's what when I envision an MVP of a team or a Heisman of a team, I say, okay, what does this team look like without him? You can remove somebody like Bryce, and Alabama struggles. That's a Heisman, Yeah. But you go to some of these other schools where they've picked these pretty little names, and they say, well, look at the record and look at what this team has done collectively. Well, they didn't do it all because of that one player. Texas A&M is where they're at now because of Devon Achane. So that's my little spiel. Plus, I had money on him as a Heisman candidate, and I still think he should have got it. But so anyway, Mike, I think this is huge, freaking huge for Texas A&M, man. All the bad news that they've been getting, all the bad publicity, all the shit that Mike Bratton has been telling online, the receipts, they don't have to keep them anymore because Texas A&M is back, baby. And Jimbo, I think this is just the changing of the guard, man. You can't get rid of your coach, but I think that we got to see Saturday that this program has got some magical pieces, man. They've got some real raw talent down there, and throughout the season, this team slowly but surely has gotten better every single Saturday. In my opinion, I know they've had some ugly games, but a lot of that was for injuries and whatnot. But I'm telling you, there's some magical pieces down there, and I think there's better days ahead for Texas A&M. And this is it, man. This was your bowl game, and you won.
And they had every reason to quit, every reason not to show up. Hell, I didn't even mention Devon Achane. He's been so banged up. I don't think anybody, given what he did for this team, would have blinked an eye if he said, I just can't go. I'm too hurt. I think they would have understood. But instead, he was a warrior out there. But let me ask you, okay, I say all that, Shane.
Yeah, because I want to flip this here for a second.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something? Okay.
Well, go ahead.
So yeah. No, okay. We're the turkey's still wearing on us here. Mike, I want to ask you, for all that positive, good, beautiful things I said about Texas A&M, LSU did not need to win this game. They really didn't. And do you think that was a factor coming in, knowing that they've already locked up an opportunity to go to an SEC championship? Now, they blew an opportunity to go to college football playoff.
Right.
But do you think that there was a little bit of overlook here with Texas A&M?
I think, yeah, it's an interesting question, Shane, because you're right. They had every reason to get up for this game because they had college. Hell, they were number 5.
Yeah.
They would have certainly punched their ticket to the college football playoff with a win, as improbable as that would have been over Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now I think even if that were to happen, which seems very unlikely, I don't think they get in, Shane. With the 3 losses, I don't think they get in. But yes, I think they looked at A&M and they said, my God, this is god-awful. They're saying the same thing I said.
Yeah.
You asked me, what is the path for A&M win? I said, I don't know, 7-6. You know what I mean? Because they can't score. We got an elite defense. We got Harold Perkins, one of the best players in the country. We've got an offense that's humming on the ground. There is very little chance A&M's got of winning this ball game, and they made me look like the damn fool I am. And not only did they win it, they kicked their ass. They dominated this game. And, on one hand, that's great. This is the way you want to go out. I've heard it, not you, but other people as well. This was their bowl game. This was like the LSU Bowl or something. And they showed up one last time for the seniors, for the players that are still fighting, and they showed their potential. The problem is they didn't do it at all this season. It took this to get their potential out. And here's what I wanted to ask you, Shane, because I don't know if you caught these. We'll play the clip here in a minute. But Jimbo Fisher, after the game, here's what he says. We executed. That's the difference. What we do works. And when I hear that, I see red. I see fire alarms. I see all the bad mojo of this season. I'm like one of those Vietnam memes where I'm seeing all the helicopters because, hey, actions will speak louder than words, but these words are damning, Shane, because he's basically saying the players weren't getting it done. They got it done this ball game. I'm a genius. I know what I'm doing. How dare you idiots question me? But if we go into this next season with the same offense and no offensive innovations, we're just going to get the same old. Yeah. Because Devon Achane is going to be in the NFL. Yes. No, you're right. I'm with you 110%, Mike. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So I obviously still think there needs to be some reflection at the end of the season. Jimbo even comes out and says he wouldn't change anything, but I guarantee he would change some things, and hopefully he changes it from within himself, within the coaching staffs. They're going to have to, man, because you keep putting a product like that on the field. And again, I don't want to take away from this great game. This was a fantastic game. They stormed the field. This was a big win for the Aggies, but the reason it's a big win is because that fandom wants it so bad, man. Yeah. These guys are willing to put the money up to get the best out there. They're buying a championship, Mike, and they bought a championship coach, and he's not fulfilling what he needs to do. And then he comes out, like you said, with these stupid comments, and it just gives you pause, because if he doesn't have that reflection, if he doesn't change his ways, we're going to be caught in the same situation, because you're right. My Heisman is not going to be on that roster next year. Now, there'll still be a lot of talent on that roster, and they're probably going to win a lot of games. But there's going to be a handful of them that's going to come down to a couple of drives. And do you have faith in Jimbo's fantastic offense and his play calling to get that victory in those close-fought games? And right now, I don't. I don't have it.
Jimbo, I'm going to ask the question the whole country's asking. Where's that been all year?
Well, that's what I was saying. It's young guys and growing and developing, and it's there. It's what I said. It's going to be there. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing. It's how we got to do it and how we got to get the maturity out of them and what happens and execute what we got. And our kids just relaxed and played, and they grew up and they matured. And there's a lot of, like I say, injuries and young guys all year. It's not an excuse, but that's the facts of life. And you see it. They could do it in streaks, couldn't do it at whole times. Then this game, we finally put it together for 60 minutes and played a really good game. That's simple. Period.
Third row on right, Brent, and then to the left.
What does that say about Achane? The fact that he returned from the injury when maybe he could have just said he was not going to finish it out.
I told you he wasn't.
Right.
You didn't believe me. You guys sitting here wouldn't believe us that these guys, you guys trying to make the players say they were going to quit and do everything else. They wouldn't do it, and I said they weren't. You questioned everything they did on that. All you all did, and that team was very tight together, and it shows the character and who he is and what he is.
What does that say? What does that say about him to come out?
What
there
I
and
just
do
said,
that?
it says a lot. He's a tremendous human being and a tremendous player and a tremendous leader and a tremendous competitor. He has nothing but heart and toughness about him and everything he does.
I know we're going long here, but LSU. I mean, we talked a lot about A&M. Are you? I mean, what's your?
I'm done with them.
thoughts
They're
on
dead.
them? Okay.
They're dead to me.
No, come on, man. They'll end up winning the SEC championship, probably. You know,
This is Brian Kelly's got him right where he was.
He's playing the long game. Hey, I do love this, man. I mean, when we came into the season, we had no idea that LSU and Georgia would be the teams meeting in the SEC championship. Nobody was predicting that. And then nobody was predicting that the team that wins the SEC championship lose to the worst team in the SEC West. I mean, there's just a pure chaos that has happened this season is what I love about the SEC football in 2022.
Right.
This new version of SEC football is so freaking fun because you just don't know what's going to happen. Man, I was going to the college football playoffs 2 weeks ago, and then we get the shit beat out of us by South Carolina, you know? Nobody saw that coming. Right. And now they go out, they double down, they beat Clemson. They should be in the college football playoffs, in my opinion. So, but anyway, I'm not worried about LSU. They still got an opportunity to make some crazy noise and make it really wild when they go against with the Georgia Bulldogs. But I don't know. I just wanted to get your thoughts on LSU before we just
I think they just got caught looking ahead, Shane, and it's a damn shame because they had everything in front of them. But to me, it takes all this optimism, all this hope, and it just smashes it. Even though they have an opportunity on Saturday to make amends. But they're going against the damn Georgia Bulldogs, the mightiest team in the land. And this is not what you want. I mean, hell, Georgia, again, we'll get to them in just a second. They tend to overlook people. Maybe this is, I already seen Kirby talking them up as they're the mightiest, LSU we've seen since they invented football here. But no, this is a flawed football team, and they showed it once again. We've seen them get smoked by Tennessee. We've seen them get smoked by A&M. They lost to Florida State. They rise to the occasion. So hopefully they rise to it on Saturday and make us a competitive ball game. But I just don't see it after Saturday, and it just kind of maybe I'm just a little upset at them because I feel like they've ruined what could be a classic SEC championship game.
Okay. All right. Just want to get your thoughts. Put it on tape.
The Iron Bowl, Shade, Alabama wins 49-27. Competitive at times. This was just a weird and wild game. Some blown calls, certainly. Auburn jumped out right ahead in 7-0. You're thinking, uh-oh. But Bryce Young, in what certainly appears to be his final game there in Tuscaloosa, 343 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have an interception, but man, was he money all game long. Auburn just kind of made a couple mistakes. The Hunter fumble was rough, but man, that horrible call, like I said on the punt, I don't know how anybody can defend that. Yeah, that's all I saw people doing. We'll give credit to Auburn though, Shane. I mean, they were clearly inferior team to Alabama, but my God, they tried to go punch for punch with them, Shane. And how about this stat? 318 rushing yards, the most ever surrendered by an FBS team by Alabama during the Nick Saban era, ever. So, I mean, this is incredible what Cadillac was able to do, and then they're ready to kick his ass out the door. I can't believe it. Robbie Ashford, one of the best throws I've seen him make in the second quarter, that great touchdown. This really came down to third downs, though, Shane. Alabama 6-9. Auburn was 4 of 14. And again, that goes back to having just a major advantage at quarterback. Even Nick Saban got a little scuffed up in this one, Shane. He delivered the best line in the postgame. You should see the other guy.
Well, that's what you do, man. I was like, the scenario couldn't be better. Cadillac's coming in. Everybody's pumped up. They're ready for a win. Nick Saban's banged up. He's on the injury report. He's questionable return. And we saw him in the medical tent a few times. No, he said he's old school, man. He don't need any of that. Just put some dirt on it. So
Yeah.
what I liked about this game, Mike, was Auburn still fought like hell, man. To the very end, they fought like hell. This team was not the better team on that field, but they went toe to toe with Alabama at times. And one thing that I loved about it was it came down to a few plays. Actually, what I don't love about it is just a few mistakes, man. You mentioned the Hunter fumble. That the key to that drive. Alabama scores. They go 3 and out.
Yep.
Alabama scores again. It's just the timing of their mistakes was detrimental to the outcome of this game. So if Auburn played a flawless game, which they needed, this could have came down. This could have got interesting late in the fourth quarter, but it just didn't go that way. And then when Alabama got the lead, buddy, Bryce just made them pay.
Right. I mean, it felt like they had a 2-touchdown lead the entire ball game here.
Yeah, it did.
After going up 21-7 after the first fumble. But, it kind of goes back to what we were saying. Auburn never gave up. But the truth of the matter, Shane, when you're going up against such a better opponent, particularly on the road, you just can't have these mistakes.
Right.
And that was a difference in the ball game. And credit Alabama for taking care of business, trying to keep their college football playoff hopes alive with another impressive performance here, a 22-point win at home. But, man, I just felt like this felt like it was going to be a special game. And just too many mistakes, too many field goals late in the ball game. I don't know what Cadillac he needs to have him, but down there, management, man, they were kicking field goals down 18 with 2 minutes left in the ball game. I think Cadillac took the points or something.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but I'll tell you that there's some things that came from this game. I text you. I was watching Hunter run, and I was like, man, he's just a fun guy to watch.
Yeah.
And you replace Hunter and put him on any other team in the SEC, he's leading their roster. He's a great athlete. Ashford, the problem is that lack of passing, that lack of downfield threat. It bit them during this game. You saw Alabama creeping up because they weren't worried about the deep ball here, but when they were, backed up, he made them pay with his legs, and that's Auburn football right now. But I just for everything that they've gone through this season to this point right here, I think they finished off the season fantastic. I would have loved to have seen them get to a bowl. I think that would have been awesome, but. Kudos to Cadillac and getting the opportunity to make some noise down there on the plains.
And now Auburn, the job search, we're recording here Sunday evening, 6:30 Central Time. Auburn's not hired anyone yet, Shane, and I thought it was funny. All the Lane Kiffin rumors, he loses 3 of his final 4. Then it shifts to Hugh Freeze, and my God, he lost his final 3, including getting destroyed by New Mexico State 49-14 on Saturday. And if it was Hugh Freeze, for sure, I think he would have already been hired, Shane. There's been pushback. I mean, it's clear as day. Many Auburn supporters are not happy with, speculation that it could be Hugh Freeze. And it may still be, but here's what I'm hearing, Shane, is Hugh Freeze is desperate to get this job. He's pushing for it, but there's powerful people at Auburn that are kind of on the fence about that. So how about this, Shane?
It's the same shit, man.
It
Auburn,
really is.
They drive me nuts. It's like whoever they get, if it is Hugh Freeze, if it's not Hugh Freeze, they better all buy in or they're going to be dealing with the same damn thing 3 years from now.
Right. But check this out, Shane. Now this is not message board rumors. This is from someone well connected here.
All right, John. Who's your sources?
Number 1 on their board. And I don't think there's any shot in hell they get this guy, but Auburn is trying like hell, and you're going to hate it, Shane. Well, actually, you're going to hate both of these. Dabo Swinney is who they're trying to pull from Clemson. Thoughts on that?
Well, part of me likes it, Mike. I know it sounds crazy. Part of me likes it because I think a full dose of SEC is good for Dabo. You know, a little come down to earth, and I mean, you just got that little the ACC schedule, whatever. So there's a part of me, but then there's a second part of me is like, if we do these teams like I think we're going to, I'm going to have to see Dabo every other year. Not a fan of that. So no, I think I'm out on that. I mean, what would it take to get him down there?
I mean, I think they're the way it's described to me, Shane, they're delusional if they think they can get him, but they're trying.
Okay.
So So I don't think that's going to happen. But someone that is, I think, realistic is another Cousin Shane enemy. Who's your most hated coach? Used to coach in the SEC.
James Franklin.
Bingo. That's the other guy they're trying to get on board at Auburn. So based on the fact that Hugh Freeze is not hired yet, either it's these two guys, they're trying to see what they can get. They're basically putting Hugh on freeze, so to speak. Just say, hold on, we're trying to get candidate A, candidate B.
That's what it is.
If we can't
we
get
know
these
we can
guys, we'll call you and you can come crawling to the Plains.
Yeah, Hugh's back up playing right now, and they're sending some love notes out there and see if circle yes or no if they love me or not. But it's a tough job, and you hit it right at the start of this Auburn segment. You've got half of the boosters in, half the boosters out, and it's the same old, and until everybody wants the home run hire, everybody wants the golden goose, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it at Auburn right now, unfortunately, and you're going to have to take what you can get, and sending out a love note to Dabo, come on. Dabo ain't leaving that sweet gig to come over there and wrestle with the rest of the SEC. Why would he want to do that? So I think that's Gruden talk, man. That's what that is. That's Peyton Manning coming to Knoxville to coach football. Get it the hell out of here.
Hits of the entire game, and unlike some of our players who had to go to the medical tent, like I always say, they don't make them like they used to.
On that topic, in the past 2017, you campaigned through interviews before the playoffs were selected. Do you plan on doing something like this year to campaign for your team's chance to play in the playoff?
Look, if I think it'll help our team, I'll certainly do that. I haven't really thought about it to this point. My whole focus was win this game. That's the best opportunity we had for anything good to happen for us. And, to win the Iron Bowl is a significant accomplishment for our team and for our fans, which we certainly appreciate. And it's a team to win 10 games. So I haven't really thought about any of those things beyond that. And I'm really proud of our players because I don't think they were thinking about anything except that as well.
All right, Shane. Well, hey, one other SEC matchup here. Tennessee beats Vanderbilt 56-0. Woo-wee. I laughed and laughed and laughed when Shane put up a 50 burger for them Vols, but that's exactly what happened on Saturday. He said Joe Milton, man, watch this Bazooka Joe here right out the bat. That's what happened as well. Tennessee scored in 55 seconds, and I think the biggest story, the defense, Shane. They responded in a huge, huge way. 13 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. They were stuffing Vanderbilt on 3rd and 4th down all game long. But how about this, Shane? This is maybe the most wild stat you're going to see. Tennessee was 0-7 on 3rd down. Didn't convert a single one, yet won 56-0. But that's going to happen, Shane, when you have rushing touchdowns of 52, 50, 83, and 80 yards. I mean, Tennessee just went gangbusters on the ground in the second half when it started to pour. And I don't know what in the hell Vanderbilt was thinking, but Tennessee was down about half a dozen defensive backs. And instead of challenging them, Mike Wright, 7 of 13 for 28 passing yards. They tried to run at Tennessee, and that's the strength of Tennessee's defense. So just a poor game planning here by Vanderbilt. But I thought just a incredible response for Josh Heupel and his program because they needed this one, Shane, to kind of get that bad taste out of their mouth, to show that the locker room's not in turmoil. You were hearing that all week on the message boards and all this. So, I know it's Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt was on a 2-game winning streak, and Tennessee did what we thought they'd do to them 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know what?
Has anybody checked on Kurt Herbstreit? Hey, we all say dumb stuff, myself included, so I give him a hard time. But no, brother, this was this. I don't want to say it was never in jeopardy, because there was moments in this game at the beginning you were just like, oh, what are we doing here? And I truly think something you hit on. Swan was dressed out. Swan was healthy.